as you approach the vehicle with the key, it is a full proximity key system, and as you approach it, it senses the key because it will allow you to unlock the doors, but it will do nothing. It's not going to turn on any exterior lights or interior lights, any kind of lights anywhere, basically. But when we hit the unlock button, that's when we have the front lights there, the headlights. The tail lights are now on, but there's no lights here on the side helping you navigate to get to the vehicle. No approach lights, no puddle lights, or anything like that on the outside. The interior lights do turn on at this point, though. You can turn all the exterior lights off when the vehicle's running simply by cycling through the headlight switch options, and it'll give you one option to go completely dark when needed. Now I have the parking lights on, and it actually, on the switch, it calls them the side markers, but it actually has, basically the parking lights. It does have side markers, which we'll point out in just a second, but these very bright LED daytime running light strips here are now illuminated here on the front. Really nice, bright, not overly bright like you're gonna accidentally think your headlights are on or anything like that, but they are nice and bright so other cars can see you. And there's the amber side marker there on the side here in the front. But yeah, these are really nice white lights. Look impressive. Kind of blow out the camera a little bit, but when I lower the brightness, you can see a little bit of a style that it has. The tail lights are now on, and they kind of wrap around to the side of the vehicle, serving as a side marker here. Now the tail lights are red and really nice, soft glow, or bright. They're bright, but they do have like this glow to them. It's hard to explain, but they look really nice. I'm gonna lower the brightness once again so you can see the clarity of the red lights. Looking impressive. Turn signal is amber here on the front, and it has basically replaces that upper portion of the white light that we saw before, except for it's quite a bit brighter as well. And it's amber in color. And between blinks, the white light is still there, which is nice. There's also an amber side marker here on the side of the vehicle, here on the side mirror. That is the turn signal indicator here on the side mirror, and it's amber in color. You can see it from the front, the side, and the back, and it's fairly bright for that type of thing. And then the turn signal here in the back is an amber in color, and it kind of has like this swoopy motion. Kind of swoops out like so. And hopefully you can tell the difference between the colors there. Tail lights are red and the turn signal is amber. Now I have what's called rear fog lights, and they're just a little portion there, I don't know if you can tell, that's brighter than the actual tail lights. You see it right there, right in here. And as I dip down, you can see it's quite bright to oncoming traffic. It separates from the taillights, so it basically makes you more visible when there's like heavy rain or fog, snow, that kind of thing, to other drivers that approach you from the rear. So there's the low beams right there, low beams. Now there's also it's like a replacement for a fog light. Go ahead and turn that on. You can see it kind of illuminates there on the sides quite a bit. You can see quite a bit of light closer to the vehicle, and those are turned on, which is really nice. But when you turn the high beams on, they'll turn off. But also, even when this is not on, when you're slow down or putting the vehicle in reverse, these lights will also turn on and kind of give you a light just close to the vehicle, basically. So let's turn those off right this second so we can see what the headlights look like. And it is a projector. Let me lower the brightness. You can see that projector right there. Here on the outside, it's a focused beam right there, LED. And as I dip down, we'll see where the cutoff is. It has a fairly sharp cutoff right about there, which is fairly low. It's about 2 feet off the ground, something like that. So it's not as bright above that cutoff, so you're not blinding other drivers, but it does give you good visibility below their line of, basically their windshield, or lower actually in this case, it's only 2 feet off the ground. So there's the high beams. In the high beams, it's basically those same low beam lights, and they add a reflector LED. So hopefully you can see here. So there's a projector there on the outside there, and then the inner portion is a big reflector right here that turns on and adds light to the headlight system. Instead of like just refocusing the low beams to a higher position, it's adding quite a bit of light. And actually I think I like the high beams better than low beams, which we'll look at it going down the road so you can judge for yourself. Now we'll turn on those replacement for a fog lights, the close-up lights, and basically they're right in here. It's kind of like it also serves as a cornering light too, right in here. Now let me lower the brightness once again. You can see it's right in there in that little area, right in here, and then that way it just projects light here on the sides and does a good job, really good job of, you know, getting that light closer to the vehicle and more on the sides there. The cargo area has a single light here in the center, and it's not very bright. It's an LED, but it's kind of deep in there, so it's like way up in here, and it casts light there in the center. But you'll notice I have my box here, this case, and it's just making a shadow everywhere. Everywhere where I need it actually is just dark. It's been a very big of it's been an issue basically trying to get the equipment ready and all that stuff for this video, because I'm lacking in light so bad with this vehicle here in the cargo area. So I would say it's poor, definitely poor lighting here in the cargo area. The inside of the rear door, it actually has a puddle light under here. So it's not super bright, but it does kind of shine some light here on the ground. It's right under here, you see it. But the interior lights shining out of the vehicle onto the ground is brighter, but it still gives you a little bit of light, which is nice. Now these pockets here are dark, but it has this green light. I don't know if you can see, there's green and there's purple. I have it set up, you know, contrasting colors so you can see the difference there. They call these lights the surface lights and these lights the line, and then you can adjust them in the settings there. There's also a light to kind of help you find the power window switch there. And there's also a light here for the handle. I don't know if you can tell, a little bit of a subtle light there, which is nice. A lot of lighting here in the back door. Here's the back seat, and the light is provided by two basically dome lights, bright enough to illuminate this whole area. Now we have dark interior, but even so, we do have some good lighting. There's even some lighting, light coming from underneath the floor here, right in there, underneath the front seats. So illuminating the floorboard, you have these lights here, which do a decent job of illuminating there, this back seat, even with dark interior. And then there is some buttons here for the climate control, and there's two USB-C ports here which are not illuminated, but there's like a little temperature dial right there that is. It's basically the same thing here for the front door. There is a relatively dim puddle light here for when you open the door, you can see what you're stepping in. But once again, the interior light shining on the ground is brighter. Dark pocket, there's a button, backlit button here. All the switches are backlit here, here, and here. And then you see the green and purple accent lights, line and surface accent lights. Looking pretty nice. There's no lights here in the threshold area, like sill plates or anything like that. There is floorboard illumination. And then there is accent lights, and the interior lights are provided by these two dome lights, and they're once again fairly bright and do a decent job even with dark interior. Now there is some issues like right there and other places that I'll show you in just a second as far as visibility. I have the interior lights on. I'm going to go ahead and shut the door. Interior lights are going to fade out, and we're left with the backlit and accent buttons and all that stuff. So here in the door, you can see that accent light kind of gives you illumination here in this area, which is really nice. And the lines are just for looks. They don't really give you any functional use, but these surface lights actually do kind of give you some you know, kind of give you a little bit of light there, which is nice. This is what the headlight switch looks like, and basically you just push it to cycle through. That's the button for the replacement for the fog lights, which is what I'm calling it through the video. And then there's the rear fog lights. So it's basically a touch sensitive pad there, and it brightens up when you touch it. And it gives you information here on the screen on what you're doing. So as I press it, you can see it cycles through and let me know what's going on here. There's that. All weather lights, that's what they're calling it. Alright, and then there's the rear fog lights. But it has a fairly decent, like some of these screens, sometimes they'll be overly bright. I have it at the brightest setting, and still it's fine. It's not causing a problem for my eyes. Now, you can go into the screen here and go into the settings, which we'll go into, I'll show you in a minute, and you can adjust the brightness of all these lights. You can turn off the accent lights, you can turn off the floorboard illumination, so you can customize this lighting. If all these lights are just, you don't really care for it, then you can, you know, dim it or turn them off. So there's the backlit buttons here on the steering wheel. Even the paddle shifters have the little pluses and minuses on them, which is kind of neat. There's a compartment here to the far left, which is not illuminated. So let me open the door and turn on the interior lights. Still can't see. Even with the interior lights, this compartment is dark. So there's this full compartment right here that's completely dark, and you can't even see it in the video. And even with the interior lights on, can't see it. So that's one dark compartment. All right, glove compartment. It does have light, and it's okay. It's decent. It's good. You see this compartment here is well lit with that green light, so that would be considered the surface light, which is also functional here in this case, ambient lighting. And then you have the backlit buttons right here. And you'll notice my hand is well lit. And basically what's going on is there's this light that's coming from up here. So you can follow it up, and you'll see coming from right in here. Right here and right there, which I love this feature. I think most vehicles should have this. We'll get to that top part in a minute, but you can see how nice that is. It gives you a nice soft glow so you can get your bearings, and it kind of helps out because this whole area otherwise would just be dark. Cup holders, this little pocket here, but it has enough light to see when it's really dark. So they kind of solved that problem, which is fine. I mean, I like that. Now, this compartment, there's a compartment here, which I have my business cards in, and once again, there's no light, but it does have that light, top-down light, getting in there enough to where you can see a little tiny bit, but it's not really enough. You know, having that soft light coming down, you can see a little bit in there, but really, if you need to find something in that compartment, it's better to have its own light. So that's very inadequate for me. Another compartment. So that's two compartments that's completely dark. And actually the worst one is the one over here on the other side of the steering wheel, because even when you turn on the interior lights, you can't even see in there. Alright, so the floorboard is illuminated. Kind of hard to tell, but it is illuminated. Okay, so we go into this screen, and you would think that you would go to settings to change the lights, but it's actually under vehicle, and then you can go to light and visibility, and then we have exterior lighting. We'll go to the exterior so you can see the different options there. Automatic headlights, entry exit lighting, turn that on or off, daytime running lights. But let's go to the interior lighting. Okay, so this is where it says basically you have different kind of presets. So at the very top is contour. We'll go through the presets here. So that's what it looks like, contour. Then this one's called vision. Then solar, which is pretty cool. And impulse, that's the next one. And then maritime, which is kind of neat. And then Audi drive select. So it depends on what drive mode you're in. It could change there. But if you go to individual, and then you can choose the colors that you want, which I chose the surfaces to be green and the lines to be like that purple color. So we go to surfaces here. There's brightness, there's color, and then you can turn on or off the footwell. And then here's the different colors that you can choose here. So it starts off like blue. You might not be able to see on the. Let me adjust this down. Not be able to see the colors all good. There we go. Okay, so it starts off like a purple, blue, aqua, green, yellow, orange, red, and then you have white. And then you have the brightness here. And the same thing for the lines. You have brightness, and then you have colors, and it's basically the same different colors. So you can customize it the way you want. So let's go ahead and put it in reverse so we can see what the camera looks like. We can see behind the vehicle fairly decent. It's not super bright, but you can see back there. And there's also parking sensors that are working in the dark as well. Now when you turn on the rear fog lights, it kind of gives you additional distance there because they're intended to be project the light further, which is kind of neat. Okay, so up here there's a rear view mirror. It has the digital compass in red light backlit, and then you have some tap lights here that you actually just touch the lens here, there, and then you remember those lights that kind of shine down. And then you have more backlit buttons. I actually have the button to turn on the interior lights is backlit, which is nice. A lot of vehicles, even expensive vehicles, miss that for some reason. And then you have the sunroof light, and then the like emergency roadside assistance. But then this button is for if you want the interior lights to turn on with the door. When it open up the door, you can have that on, and that red light is the on light. You can turn that on or off. The visors, when you open this up, the mirror, this light turns on automatically, which is pretty cool. Same thing on the passenger side. Now this light that shines down in this area light right here, there's one in the back as well. I had to increase the brightness on the camera, but here in the back seat, so where I'm looking at the back seat, here's the front, and then you can see the back seat. You see the lights there on the door, that line and surface lights. That green light kind of casts a little bit of light there on the seat and in the lap of the passenger. So when it's at this high brightness, it kind of has a little bit of a functional purpose there, because it actually can provide a little bit of light for the rear passengers, so they kind of get their bearings and stuff. And there are also little finder lights there for the interior little tap lights up there as well. So that way if they want to turn on the light, they can see right where it is, the button, which is nice. And it kind of shines right there in the lap area more so, not so much their face. So it's not distracting the driver, and it's not really causing a problem. It just kind of gives them additional light there, right where they need it, basically. So those all-weather lights, remember I told you that they serve as turning lights, cornering lights. When you don't actually have to turn the steering wheel. Now if you do, like I just did, like I turn to the right, turn to the left, they turn on. But if you just put the turn signal on in that direction, it turns on. So either way, it kind of helps you out with that. So we got the turn them all on, all off with that button. So yeah, pretty handy. Now I'm going to leave them off right now so we can see the cornering light feature as we drive through the parking lot here. Now the turning radius is really nice on this vehicle, so I'm just going to kind of whip it around very easily and aim it here at this shrubbery, so you can see the cutoff there. All right, and there's the high beams, there's the low beams. And I'm gonna put it on automatic high beams. We'll see how it looks. And there's a fence over here that kind of also gives you an idea of what that cutoff looks like, depending on how much other lights that are in the area. But yeah, right there you can kind of see there's the cutoff, and then there's the high beams, there's the low beams. All right. And the cornering lights, you can see those turn on and off as we just move through this parking lot. And I can already tell that it has one of those notches for the low beams, so the cutoff is a little bit lower in a certain spot, and it's supposed to line up with the oncoming traffic lane. So we'll see how that goes. Also, we'll see how well the automatic high beams work as well, because most vehicles have issues with the automatic high beams, flashing other cars, or either not turning on, not turning off the high beams, that kind of thing. Okay, so you can see the low beam cutoff is on the ground right now, and you can see that the notch kind of lines up with that oncoming traffic lane. They kind of both together line up with that, so it gives you a little bit of a leeway there. It has the automatic, auto leveling headlights, but as you can tell, they're, even when you're hitting bumps and going up and down hills, they're still going to go up and down that cutoff. It's not going to stay perfectly level. It's mostly when you're like flooring it, or if you have a heavy weight in the back or whatever. So that oncoming traffic lane being lower helps out with those deviations in the, that line going up and down, that cutoff. So it's a little bit darker road right here, but there's so much traffic right now. It's like Monday. Usually there's nobody on this road, but so we'll get to look at the high beams in a few minutes, hopefully. Let's go ahead and turn on the all-weather lights so we can see what they look like there on the sides. Hopefully you can tell. This camera does a pretty decent job of getting the sides. See what they look like. And those will turn off when the high beams turn on. Okay, so hopefully the automatic high beams will kick in right about now. Okay, there we go. That's good. So we get to see a little bit of high beams right in here on this bridge. And you can see those trees in the distance. It seems to be evenly lit. So you've got two projectors, and then you have two reflectors kind of mixing together. And sometimes there's an issue with overlapping, like patchiness. But this one seems to be doing well as far as the visibility there, so we can see in the distance, and we can also see up close, even with the high beams on. So yeah, we can see up close. We can see there on the side is pretty good. Not quite as good as before with the all-weather lights on, but we can have a pretty good distance down the road. It doesn't seem to fade as much as other vehicles, so it has a really good distance down the road. Nice bright LED white light, and I think the low beams are better with the all-weather lights on. When you turn them off, they're a little bit lacking, in that area where all the all-weather lights shine. So I like to turn those on. But the high beams are really good. Very impressed with that. No problems whatsoever, really, with the high beams. And so far, the automatic high beams are working well, turning on and off when I would prefer them to. Windows starting to fog up. Yeah, right there you can really tell how nice the high beams are. That good distance there, the brightness. They do a pretty decent job. I'm satisfied with them anyway, as far as the high beams. I mean, it's not like super impressive or anything, but I mean, for a modern vehicle in this price range, they're adequate.